In the name I am that I am, Sana tomorrow, I call forth the light of the living word, beloved Elohim, beloved archangels, beloved mighty Choans of the rays and the lords of karma. I call for the action of beloved Pallas Athena, beloved goddess of liberty, beloved Nada, beloved Kuan Yin, beloved Portia, beloved great divine director, beloved all-seeing eye of God, Cyclopeia. Let God's will be done, let God's will be done, let God's will be done. I do in the action of the sacred fire in this hour, descend out mighty cosmos, secret rays. I am the holding of the balance of Lord Gautama Buddha, beloved Sanat Kumara and the seven holy Kumaras. I call upon the sacred fire, I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved mighty I am present, come forth in this hour of the victory. Come forth in this hour of the victory of the God flame. I demand the full power of beloved mighty Athene with us this night. Beloved Jesus and Kusumi, Lord mighty Gautama and Sana Kumara. Come forth now in the victory of the God flame. Cleanse the light of 10,000 suns. Beloved mighty Athene, mighty Athene, mighty Athene. Presence of almost everything around this fortune now. I call upon the great single sun magnet. I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved Astrea, beloved Astrea, beloved Astrea. I call upon the electronic solar, the wings of the great single sun, the Lord God. I call for the electronic fire. I call for the wings of the great single sun. I call for the great single sun magnet solar power.
Well, good morning and welcome to another edition of Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I am your host, your navigator, your guide, all that. My name is Robert Phoenix, and today is the 11th. It's 7-Eleven. Do you know that if you go to 7-Eleven today, you'll get a free Slurpee? I just found that out. I don't drink Slurpees. I used to. When I was a kid, I used to drink Slurpees. I drank probably too many Slurpees. I always prefer the icy versus the Slurpee, though. I'm not sure why. And I bet you the icy just has some weird stuff in it. Like the Slurpee, probably mostly crushed ice, corn syrup, and who knows what else. But the icy, they had to do something to get that ice a certain way. Do you know what I mean? It was that smooth ice. But not every place had the icy. You had to go to like a Stop and Go or something like that, which is not as popular as a 7-Eleven. But I preferred the icy versus the Slurpee. However, the Slurpee was ubiquitous, and I drank quite a few of them, especially when baseball or football season were around. Why? Because they had these cups that you could get with the faces of baseball players or football players on them, and that's what happened. I was into it. Okay, so here we are. It's Wednesday, 7-11. We've got a Friday the 13th coming up. Saturn has moved forward. It is in Libra still. Mars is in Libra. Gotta love Mars in Libra. It's kind of intense, Mars in Libra. You know, it's like fighting for peace. You know, it's screaming for peace. It's definitely a protest energy, Mars in Libra. And in relationships, Mars in Libra is it's not bad. It is not bad. It's actually pretty good. If you need to clear the air, if you need to get stuff off your chest, talk, process, all those things, Mars and Libra. Good for that. Been sitting on stuff. Tap a little Mars and Libra. And then you can get things out, apparently. So Mars is coming up into a T-square, and that T-square is winging itself in your direction. What does that mean for you? What does that T-square mean for everyone? Well, let's look at it, shall we? Mars begins to get into a tight T-square with Uranus. The opposition starts on Tuesday. It really begins to get very tight next week on Tuesday, the 17th. But it really gets extremely tight on the 19th. And as we get into that kind of precarious stage where We're headed towards Leo in the final degrees of Cancer, aka the anaretic degree. Then we're really, getting extremely tight. The closest, really, in terms of the opposition, 829 on the 22nd, and that's 829 Mars, and then 831 Uranus. So that's really the closest of the opposition. And then on the 23rd, Mars moves slightly ahead to 840, 851, and then by the 25th, it has moved past Uranus. Now, at the same time, Pluto is at 7 degrees, 743 in Capricorn. So there's going to be an extremely tight T-square between those three energies. It's intense, and especially since we're dealing with the anaretic degree, where it's very precarious, Cancer going into Leo, and then we've got Mercury retrograde. So this is a pretty interesting time and precarious, obviously, with the T-square. And, T-squares are conflicts. And when they're in cardinal signs like Capricorn and Aries and Libra, then we've got issues, to say the least. Where are those issues happening? Well, they're happening on a global stage. They're happening in the Middle East. They're happening in Syria. By that time, actually, it's the lead up. We're about, after the 22nd, we're 5 days away from the opening ceremony of the Olympics, which takes place on the 27th. Leo will be at 4 degrees. So will be at Leo at 4 degrees on the 27th. And it's challenging. It is challenging, that T-square. Russia has just moved one of its main destroyers to Tartus, which is the main port of Syria near Damascus. And Assad is not going to step down and walk away or run away like Gaddafi, or allow himself to be tried like Mubarak. This is not what he's going to do. It's not going to be an option for him. And the only way that they're going to get him out of that country is if there is a full-scale war. Trust me on this. He's not going to walk away. Full-scale war. Now, if Russia goes there and brings in a bevy of heavy equipment, maybe, just maybe, they'll back off a little bit and we'll get some sort of a status quo. But things are tricky. We've had some incursions here on the West Coast with some Russian bombers, which were intercepted by American fighter jets. This is all in the last week. So things are kind of heating up, and the T-square is something that portends more tension than anything else, really. There's not a lot of resolve with the T-square. And because of the cardinal signs, it's about initiating and starting and getting things going. It's intense. The energy is intense. And it's impatient. There's a great deal of impatience with that T-square. There's not a lot of ability to mediate. Because Mars has been in Virgo for 9 months. And when a planet has been in that sign for such a long time, there seems to be a backlog of energy and a backlog of intention that has not been fully exercised. People have been focusing on details and getting things done and being of service and making things happen with Mars and Virgo. And they've put some of their other needs aside. And now that Mars has moved into Libra, the needs become more complex. Now, maybe it's because people have maybe earned a little extra money, well, Mars has been in Virgo, or maybe it's because they've done as much as they can in terms of their work output, and they've completed or achieved something, and now they're looking to do something a little more abstract, which is focus on their relating and interrelationships. And so that's why there's a lot of urgency, or at least it seems, with Mars and Libra. So we've got that on the personal, and we certainly have it on the collective. That much I can assure you. And Uranus in Aries has been incredibly explosive. I mean, Uranus in Aries, I was talking with somebody on Facebook yesterday, came on with a bang with Fukushima. And pretty much has not abated since. You know, one of the things that we've seen with Uranus and Aries has been the development of technology in the war theater, particularly with the incursion of drones and drone technology. That's taken place with Uranus and Aries in a very big way. And in fact, we're seeing the drone technology here in the United States. It's been used. It's out there. So, you know, it hasn't gone away. It's only going to get bigger. Fukushima hasn't gone away. We're still dealing with it. And Mars and Libra opposing Uranus and Aries could be quite interesting, especially as it relates to the protest movement in Japan and in other parts of the world concerning things like war and nuclear power. It could be very, very powerful in terms of how people respond to that and respond to that crisis. And it is a crisis. Make no mistake about it. It is a crisis. And sitting between the two, sitting between Libra and Aries, is Pluto. Pluto and Capricorn. Capricorn is the midpoint between the two. Angles of the chart. Ascendant, descendant, midheaven. The angles of the chart are the most powerful parts of the chart. And here we have this cardinal T-square at the angles. So it's doubling and tripling the power of the aspects themselves. Overseeing it all are the overlords of Pluto and Capricorn, looking down upon the duality and the conflict between the immediacy and the intensity of expressing the will with Uranus and Aries, and the desire to mediate with a sense of radical urgency, Mars and Libra. And that's where we are. And we're going to be feeling these energies getting more and more intense. Now, one of the things that I've been trying to practice in my own life is not to get sucked in and draw conclusions about things. And I think that's a really it's really good practice, because there is a sense of urgency. There is a sense of wanting to protect things. Mars and Libra is very protective. And I think there's a time and a place for that to kick in. But you also want to be cool. Be calm, cool, collected. I think that's important. And try to use the ability to detach and mediate in your own life. I think it's also a good strategy. Mercury goes retrograde on Saturday. Let's throw that into the mix, shall we? Should be an interesting time. And Mercury retrograde in Leo is one of the things about Mercury retrograde is that if there's any astrological aspect that is close to time travel, it's Mercury retrograde. Because what we're doing here is we're going into the past. We're literally reliving our past via the the sign that Mercury is in. So let's say Mercury is in Virgo, we get to kind of look back on, how we've taken care of ourselves, or whether or not we've listened to our inner voice in terms of what we're supposed to be doing in the world. Our dharma, our prompting, our inner calling. Well, with Leo, it relates to our parents. It relates to childhood. So one of the, I think, great exercises that people can do without, spending too much time focusing on their navals is to be able to take time out during Mercury retrograde and go back in time and explore one's relationship with their parents, explore one's relationship with their own childhood, and what happened, who were they, who were you, where are you hung up, where can you improve, where can you let go, where can you work through certain experiences that are not allowing you as an individual to be fully present as an adult. And that's part of what Mercury retrograde in Leo is about. And if you think about this, I think one of the reasons why we're so challenged as a culture and as a planet is because we're in a perpetual state of either childhood or adolescence, and it's very hard for most people to be adult and mature. It's hard because the payoff for being adult and mature in the world, in the way that it's been set up, is pretty shitty, to be honest with you. It's pretty thankless on some level. What happens? Well, you get to stare down the inequities of the system. That's what happens. And not from a rebellious way, because when you're young and you're a teenager, you can see these things quite clearly. Sometimes perhaps a little clouded by whatever the cultural filter is at the time. But nonetheless, adolescents have a pretty keen eye into right and wrong, fair, unfair. But the way that it's dealt with isn't always the most holistic. Now, when you're an adult, theoretically, you have the same kinds of perceptions, only it's less reactionary. And you begin to see that the system itself has been around forever. And so then you're left with a sense of, well, now what do I do? And who wants to, in some ways, who wants to come to that kind of realization? What is the payoff for that? Well, the payoff might be more autonomy, more sovereignty, more authenticity, living the world on your own terms. I mean, theoretically, that's what being an adult is about. You have the responsibility, you see the responsibility, you take hold of the responsibility, and the payoff is, guess what? You get to live life on your own terms. Well, it's hard. It's harder than that on some level, because what we have now is we have a paradigm that is constricting and contracting that kind of realization. And in fact, it wants you to remain in a state of adolescence. It wants you to remain in a state of childhood. That's what it wants. It wants you to come to them for your unemployment check. Why? Because you can't get a job. And that's no fault of yours, by the way. But it's reducing you to something as being dependent versus independent or interdependent, as people would like to say. And so now we have this challenge with the coming to terms with coming of age. And most people shy away from it. And that, in a lot of ways, maturity and adulthood is kind of a raw deal, which is why people are caught in their cycle of arrested development. And that's where we are. And the problem is is that if we can't get to those places of maturity, accountability, and responsibility, we have no chance. We have no chance of creating a different type of system. None whatsoever. And Mercury retrograde in Leo might offer up some clues to me and you and everybody listening to this show, and other people as well. You might be able to go back and look at where you gave your power away. I know where I gave my power away in my adolescence. I know exactly. I can see clearly 2-3 events in my life where I kind of threw in the towel. Quite frankly, I wish I hadn't. And maybe that didn't happen to you. Maybe you held on to something through your adolescence and childhood, and maybe you are striving and creating and being somebody who is a living example of heart and courage, because that's also part of Leo, right? It is heart and courage, and to live with heart and courage. So during this upcoming Mercury retrograde, you get to ask yourself, what happened? Did I lose my heart somewhere? Did I let my heart go? Did I let somebody crush my heart? Did my parents break my heart? Did my parents, as unwitting agents of society, break my heart? So let's stay on the heart tip and take a call from my key heart 1. It's been holding for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
No worries. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Good. And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from California.
Okay, great. So have you listened to the show before, or is this your first time?
No, this is my first time, actually.
Okay, well, good. Well, welcome to the show.
Yep.
So kind of the format here is, it's kind of, it's your dime, your time. I can look at your astrological chart. You can ask me a question about astrology. It's wherever you want to go with this.
Sure, take a look at my chart, please. It's always kind of interesting. My birth date is 3/22/49.
Okay.
And Toledo, Ohio, at 10:30 p.m.
All right. So since there's only you and somebody else, one other person in the queue, I'm going to do a natal chart for you.
Oh, thank you.
And let's see what we can come up with here. All right. Hold on. Here we go. And let's do this. Go here. Just to move a few things around. Okay, why don't you go ahead? 322, right?
49.
Okay.
Toledo, Ohio, 10:30 p.m.
10:40 p.m.
10:30.
10:30. Okay. And Toledo, Ohio. And we're almost there.
Okay.
And there it is. And there you are. Oh, interesting chart. Excuse me. Yeah, it almost looks like the Pentagon. It's fascinating. Okay, so lots of planets splayed out. You have a splay chart, obviously, and you probably know that. Out of all of the, you've got 12 houses. You've got planets in all but 3 of them, or aspects in all but 3 of them, if you count Chiron and True Note, which I do. Well, so people that have splay charts tend to be pretty good at a lot of different things. They can be real dabblers. They can be people that have a lot of different interests. So the one thing about a splay chart is sometimes people can diffuse their energy and have too many things kind of going on, or too many interests, or be too versatile on some level. And then it depends on sort of the angles of the planets. And for you, it seems like you have most of your heavy lifting with Uranus, because it squares your Sun, it squares Venus, and it squares Mars. And with the Uranus squares and the splay chart, it would cause you to focus on things like spontaneity, making decisions from the hip, moving too fast, moving too slow, figuring out how you set things in motion with your mind and your intention. I think that that's probably, maybe a life lesson that you've been working with, especially with Uranus in the 8th house, which brings up a completely different set of circumstances and dynamics, since the 8th house is the subconscious. And figuring out how you can tap into the power of the subconscious to activate intention at a very real-time level. And once you kind of understand that and figure that out, working that Uranus is something that you become much more comfortable with. Because a lot of times for the people that have Uranus in the 8th house, and you've been on this planet for a while now, so you've had a few years to figure this out, Uranus in the 8th house can be very shocking. And events seem to just come out of nowhere. People that have Uranus in the 8th house can be accident prone. And, and it appears, again, that things just happen to the individual. But if you sort of trace the events and trace the line of energy back, you can figure out that, your thoughts or your feelings or intentions have had some role to play in the surprise or the surprises that Uranus can bring to you. You've also got Mars at 0 degrees Aries, which is very, very powerful. It's in the 5th house, and Mars conjuncts the Sun in the 5th house, also in Aries. And when we see the conjunction between those two so close, we see that the aspect of will and the activation of will plays a very important role in your chart, especially as it relates to the heart and creativity. Where it gets tricky is the square between Uranus. And sometimes with the Uranus square of Sun and Mars, what happens is that you can have a desire, or you can want to be with somebody in a romantic way or a sexual way or a creative way, and it can happen extremely fast. And then what will occur is then you have to deal with the fact that you've activated this desire, and then dealing with the ramifications of the activation of the desire. So you get what you want, but what you want or what you get isn't always, I wouldn't say thought through, but it's not always complete, because you're, the time between getting it, thinking about it and getting it can be very short. Now, the other thing with the square is sometimes the universe will not comply with you, and you'll want something, and the universe will push back, especially when you have aspects sitting either on your Uranus or on your Mars or on your Sun. Now, Uranus, transiting Uranus, has just moved off of your natal Sun. It goes backwards. It goes back to, I think, 6 degrees. So you're going to have kind of a return of the Sun-Uranus conjunction transiting, and that can be extremely dynamic. The big movement looks like it's going to be Uranus trining your Pluto, and that takes place next year in 2013, while at the same time opposing your Neptune in the 11th house. When you have Uranus oppose Neptune, it's an interesting dynamic. One of the things that the Uranus-Neptune opposition brings people is a sense that they are not living forever. This is a generational. It's actually I wouldn't even call it a generational. It happens at right around your age specifically, and we see the Uranus-Neptune opposition and say, you know what? I may not have a lot of time left. I'm getting very clear over the fact that, the body is sagging. I'm forgetting things. I may as well figure out what I can do, with this energy. It's not a midlife crisis, but it certainly is kind of a wake-up call. It's like, okay, what do I want to do with my time? If I'm going to prioritize my time on this planet, what matters to me? That's what the Uranus-Neptune opposition begins to get fleshed out as. And then we look at the houses that it's in. Neptune is in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, groups, associations. Uranus will be transiting your 5th house, which is creativity, which is heart, which is personal relationships connected through romance. So part of what that will do is it will create a tension between this whole concept of who's a friend and who's a lover. You may cross a bridge where somebody who's been in your life for a while as a friend moves into a lover space, and it may happen quite quickly. Or the reverse might be true, that you may have somebody who's been a lover and you may want to move them out back into the 11th house and turn them into a friend, and they may not like that. The Pluto trine is interesting because it also indicates here that there is a quickening of your awareness as it relates to consciousness, because your Pluto is in the 9th house. So when the two of them trine, there is and they're in fire signs, right? There is a real sense that you're onto something, that you're figuring something out, that you're literally on fire with awareness and objectivity and creativity. And the thing with the Uranus-Pluto trine, especially with Pluto in the 9th house, is synchronicity plays a large role in uncovering information. Synchronicity is, I think, really akin to like Gemini and Sagittarius. So, the more that you study, or the more that you research, or the more that you get into your creativity, more is revealed, and it gets really exciting. Okay, and that's coming to you in a big way in 2013. The Jupiter transit right now for you is in your 7th house, and I was reading about Jupiter in the 7th house today, just to kind of brush up on the different houses of Jupiter. And a lot of times Jupiter in the 7th house, I'm going through Jupiter's 7th house transit as well. Traditionally it would portend a marriage. That's how old school astrologers see Jupiter in the 7th house. But what it really means is that you're more open to the powers of relationship and opening up relationship to other people than ever before, which means that you could consider things like marriage and long-term relationship and commitment. Those things they're just Jupiter expands. And when it's in the 7th house, it expands in that realm of possibility. So maybe it could mean a marriage, or it could mean a long-term relationship. Certainly, people that go through Jupiter moving through their 7th house are encouraged to extend their ability to be in relationship with other people. And that's across all platforms, business, friendship, and intimate, although the 7th house does favor intimate relationships. So you have that going on. And the most fascinating, or I think the most interesting aspect of the Jupiter transit will occur towards the end of the year. Jupiter gets up to 15 degrees, and then it goes retrograde, and it dances between like 15 degrees and 9 degrees between like December and February of next year. So what that does is it puts it in a fairly tight trine with Neptune. And when you have a Jupiter-Neptune trine, it's really kind of a blessing in a lot of ways, because Jupiter is working on and expanding the qualities of Neptune in your chart, which are compassion, which are forgiveness, which is openness, dissolving, merging. And because your Neptune is in Libra, it does encompass this aspect of relationship. So there's a lot of healing that can take place for you in the realm of relationship. If you've experienced some setbacks or troubles in relationship over the last 1 to 2 years, you can begin to dissolve those and heal those. And this can be particularly true when you allow somebody else into your life, or some other aspect of a person perhaps that's already into your life, to emerge and allow those things to come out. So, I think that you've got some terrific aspects, going on and allow you to facilitate, who you are in an evolutionary course in a fairly rapid fashion.
Wow, that was really amazing, Robert. I've never had such information come forth like that. That was really amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So I guess it has some meaning for you then.
Oh, well, yeah, there was lots of information, lots of I'll have to go to the archive and download so I can listen to this again a few times, because there was so much information.
Okay.
It's all pretty exciting, I have to say. I feel a lot of excitement coming through, and I know some things are coming forth for me. I've been really on my spiritual path for some time, and I have moved into exploring different creative means. So it's all very, very exciting, actually.
Good. And I just want to point out one other thing. You know, Uranus is at 8 degrees, and it's in a trine with your Chiron in Sagittarius, which is in your first house. Excuse me. And the Uranus-Chiron trine would really encourage and support you to get into that Sagittarian identity, which is very authentic, very truthful, very honest, and willing to take risks in terms of what you believe in and how you share information with people. So that's also really highlighted in a very positive way.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
I guess it's time for me to step forth then.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Uranus will be dancing with Chiron for another year, so you get to practice that a little bit too.
Oh, well, good.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Okay, I'm just going to hit one, but I'm going to stay and listen.
All right, I'll put you on mute.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, it's my key heart, 1. Let's go to the 425 caller and see who they are and what they want to talk about. Hello, you're on the air with Robert. How are you?
Hey, Robert. This is Austin. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, Austin. What's on your mind and your heart today?
Got a couple questions that maybe I can get some more insight into. One is I've been feeling a lot of anxiety the last couple of weeks, and I'm not sure what's causing it, and I'm not sure how to fix it. So I've been looking at different things like doing yoga and acupuncture and stuff like that. But
yeah.
And then the other one is this about a week and a half ago, I went on a trip and ended up stopping at a relative's house where they had some hot springs.
Mm-hmm.
And all three of us that were in the group that went there, we didn't want to leave. And it turned out there were a lot of spiritual people there, and it was very intuitive, I guess like an energy vortex area, kind of like Sedona.
Mm-hmm.
And my partner he was like, this is where I want to be. And of course, it's a small town. There's not a lot of jobs there. But I'm just wondering what you see with that also. Do you see us moving there or what?
Okay. All right, well, let's do this. Why don't you give me your birth date?
Okay. 10/16/1966.
Okay. And what time were you born?
About 4:24 a.m.
4:24. Yeah. I was remiss as a host. I did not open the chat room, so I had to go do that. Okay, 4:24 a.m. And where were you born, Austin?
Seattle, Washington.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's look at the anxiety piece. Now, one of the things that I have seen recently is a lot of people are having anxiety, and it has nothing to do with them in terms of their life. We're dealing with free-floating anxiety because of people are extremely sensitive, and people are dealing with ripples in the waves of consciousness and history. And I think there are a number of people who are picking up the fact that we're living in a really intense, edgy, and sketchy time. And there are potential events that could go off at any time around the planet vis-a-vis 9/11 or Fukushima or Katrina or whatever that thing is. And I think that there are people that are they're like spiritual seismographs. And you're probably one of them. And as I look at your chart, what do I see in your ascendant? I see Pluto conjunct Uranus right in your ascendant in Virgo. And that, by the way, makes you incredibly sensitive. Virgo is an earth sign, but it's a very sensitive earth sign. When we look at, Mercury, which rules Virgo, it's a liquid, it's a solid. It is deeply influenced by the environment around it. If it's cold, it gets hard. If it's warm, it's liquid. I mean, that is Virgo. And, of all the signs, of all the earth signs, Virgo is obviously the most sensitive. It rules the stomach, right? And the stomach is really the pit of anxiety. That's where anxiety lives. It lives in our guts. And when you have Pluto and Uranus on your ascendant, by the way, Pluto is only 2 degrees off of your ascendant, which means that it's extremely wired into who you are and how you interface with the world. You are going to pick up information on a lot of different levels, really subtle levels. In fact, more subtle than other people. So what do you do with that? How do you deal with it? How can you, work with that energy? Yoga could be a good thing for you. Working that stress out. What you don't want to do is you don't want to get into anything that would be self-destructive or self-medicating, because you have Saturn and Chiron conjunct in Pisces, and they're opposite your ascendant, and they're opposite all that Pluto, that Virgo stuff in your first house. It makes you really sensitive to anything that is going to medicate you, so whether it's alcohol, whether it's nicotine, whether it's over-the-counter drugs. You got to find an alternative way to do that. Now, what's interesting is that you brought up this whole concept around the hot springs. How did you feel while you were there?
I felt kind of like I was at home. It was incredibly peaceful, and it was funny. I would be thinking something like, this lady looks really interesting. I'd like to talk to her. Next thing I know, this lady would walk over and sit down and start talking to me.
Right.
It was pretty wild, I thought. It seemed very magical, I definitely could feel the energy there.
Well, the reason I ask you is because you've got a real preponderance of water in your chart. You have Mercury, Neptune, and Moon all in Scorpio, and then you've got Saturn and Chiron in Pisces. So you have 5 planets in water signs, and Saturn and Chiron are trining all 3 of those planets. So you're really well served, being in an environment where you're close to water. I mean, that's a natural spot for you. And when we look at the confluence between Pluto and Uranus, those very kind of, in some ways, nervous, sensitive, environmentally barometric aspects on the ascendant, they sextile those planets, those Scorpio planets, down in the 3rd house. So there's a nice resonant relationship. It's where water meets earth. And that's where you have a really fertile connection for you to do extremely transformative work. The 3rd house is the house of the world around us. It's like around the block, down the street, around the corner. And what would be important for you with that 3rd house is to be able to get your emotional, spiritual, and mental needs all met within kind of a tight-knit radius. So that could mean a community of some sort. A small town would actually be not a bad thing for you to experience with those 3 planets there. And I guess my question to you, Austin, would be, did your anxiety abate while you were in that place, in the hot springs and in that town?
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to look at and notice, because, I'm a firm believer, especially with your chart, with all this kind of the somatic markers, with the earth signs, the 2 earth signs being, or the 2 planets in earth being very prevalent in the 1st house, and having a sympathetic relationship with emotions in the 3rd house. I think you need to pay attention to that stuff. The other thing too is you've got Jupiter, which is really interesting, at 2 degrees in Leo. Now, it's in a fire sign, but it's engaged in a trine with your Scorpio planets, because your Scorpio planets, especially Moon and Neptune, and your Piscean planets. It's because of the degrees. So you've got this trine going on with all 3 of those planets. And Jupiter in Leo is expansive, it's expressive, and it's in the 11th house, which is the house of friends and community. So you need to be around like-minded people, and if you do and are, there's a very good chance that you could even assume a leadership role amongst a group of people, amongst a small community or network of friends. So, frankly, I'd support something like this. I would support that kind of a move. Where can you tell me where this is?
Yeah, Montana.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the astrocartography for you in Montana, and we're going to look at this and find out what that.
Do you need the town in Montana, or just the state?
I'll just look at the state. Let's see what we have here.
Okay.
Okay. So it looks like, well, this is interesting. Going right through that part of the world. So we're talking the Rocky Mountains. What do we see? We see Saturn and Chiron on the descendant. Now, astrocartography uses the angles of the chart. It uses the ascendant, descendant, the IC, and the MC. But what's interesting about this is that you have Saturn and Chiron on your descendant in your natal chart. And here, Saturn and Chiron in the descendant are running right through that area. So in a lot of ways, that would be a very good place for you to live. Now, Saturn is exalted in the 7th house. It's called accidental exaltation. So being in that place would actually feel like, in some ways, being at home. And what's interesting is that I think, based on what I'm seeing here, I think that your relationship with your partner could actually really grow in a place like that. That the Saturn and your Chiron would really come alive. And that it would allow you, excuse me, to face some of your insecurities, especially as it relates to relationship. You know, that you could come out and you could really kind of be, you know, who you are, what you want to be, without fear of reprisal or judgment, and then you could actually build on your strengths, and you could tweak and get into and work on your weaknesses together as a couple. I think that this could be a really good place, actually.
Okay, and I'm wondering too about. I mean, even though I'm working and stuff, I still feel a little anxiety, especially more so when I'm thinking about money. Yeah.
I think that's endemic, man. I mean, I think that's okay. Where we are. You know, I could take 10 calls, and 9 out of 10 people will talk about their anxiety around money right now, and because it's very real. You know, if you look around, we're in a really terrible state economically. I mean, it's one of the greatest secrets of our current time and milieu. I mean, first of all, we've got runs on banks in Europe. We've got computerized runs on banks. We've got major lending scandals and just outright theft in places like Great Britain with LIBOR. Here in this country, the amount of outsourcing with foreign countries it's epic. You know, if you want to get an appliance built, or you want to get a piece of hardware built, it's not getting built here, it's getting built elsewhere, and the jobs aren't coming back. They're just not. So one of the things that I think could be interesting in a small place like that, especially if you're around hot springs and water, is you've got resources. You know, water is going to be one of the most important resources in the world. I mean, look what's going on right now. Half the country's on fire. The corn crops are dying. because there's not enough water. And if you're in a place that's got water, you're one step ahead of everybody else. And I don't want to think in such dire survivalist terms, but you kind of look at these things sometimes. And in a small area, you know, people, if you are in with a group of people, you can pull together. You know, you can find things, you can build things like microeconomies. A friend of mine was telling me about what they're doing in Ojai. In Ojai, they've got basically a free economy, a little satellite underground free economy, and you basically, you know, trade skills for you know, other skills or goods, and those things are a lot more easier to set up in small places. So in a lot of ways, your prospects would be less in a smaller place like that, but your potential of growing something, especially with Saturn and Chiron there, might even be greater, especially if you're working with other people.
Okay.
And, you know, there's always the internet. You know, I mean, you can still do stuff on the internet. Like, you know, there's a website called trymyui.com, right? And it's you log in and you can do like UI sort of tests for companies that want you to go in and, you know, figure out what their website is doing, and they pay like $25 a shot. If you're living in a small town, right, and you don't have a lot of overhead, you can do, you know, 5 or 6 of those a day, maybe make $450 a week, something like that, and you could actually get by. I mean, I think if you are smart and resourceful, you can pull stuff together. But I think the main thing here, Austin, and I'll send you out on this, is I think you need to trust your body. Just trust your body awareness, because with Pluto and Uranus in the first house, sextiling all those Scorpio planets, that's going to be your best barometer for sure.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for calling in. Take care.
Thank you. I'm going to listen in, too.
Okay. Put you on hold. Okay, let's go to this caller here who's been on hold for 6 minutes and 41 seconds. 718. Let's see who they are. Hi, thanks for calling in. Who are you, and where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from New York. I didn't even realize I was on that long.
Well, I guess that's a good thing.
It is. That was a great read.
Oh, thank you. What's your name?
My name is Tanya.
Hi, Tanya. So it's your dime, your time. Where do you want to go today?
Well, I just wanted to know. My mind is focused on this one person in particular, and I was wondering if our paths are going to cross again anytime soon.
All right. Why don't we do this? Why don't you give me your birth date? You don't have to give me the time. Just give me your birth date.
2/28/71.
All right, 2/28/71. Let's see. All right. Okay, so got you as a Pisces sun. Looks like you have an Aries moon. Is that right?
I don't know about the Aries moon, but I'm a Pisces.
I think you've got an Aries moon, late degree Aries moon. Mercury, Pisces, Venus, Capricorn, Mars, Sagittarius, Jupiter, Sagittarius, Saturn, Taurus. A lot of Sag in your chart. Neptune and Sag, Neptune, Mercury conjunction. Let's see, Neptune, Jupiter conjunction in Sagittarius. That's great. And Pluto in Virgo. Okay, so all right. I think that the big ticket for you is your Chiron, which is in Aries, at 8 degrees, and Uranus is in Aries right now. So you're having Uranus set on right on top of your Chiron. And how long has it been since you've seen this person?
Wow. In person, maybe 6 months.
6 months. And do you know what their sun sign is?
Okay, hold on to your seat.
Okay.
He's an Aries.
Okay. Well, that makes sense on some level. When is his birthday? Do you know?
His birthday is March 27th. I'm sorry, March 29th.
And what year?
I believe it's 19. It would have to be in the mid-50s.
All right. So let's just look at the sun sign, because it's going to be the same pretty much every year. So let's just go to March 29th, 1955.
Okay.
Just for kicks. So the March 29th puts his sun right at 7 degrees, which puts it right. His sun is right on your Chiron. And Uranus is moving backwards, and it's at 8 degrees right now. It goes to 7 degrees very shortly, within the next couple days. So what you're going to have is you're going to have Uranus sitting on your Chiron. Uranus will be sitting on his sun. Now, my question to you would be, do you want this just to be kind of magical, or do you want this to be proactive, where you pick up a phone and activate your Aries willpower and reach out to him? How do you want this to go?
I'd like it to be both, but I'm at a handicap because I don't have his information, but he has mine.
He has yours.
Yes.
Okay. So let's do this. Let's do this as kind of an experiment, because I can't tell you whether or not he's going to pick up that phone and call you. But I can say that the degree of him picking up the phone, with Uranus on your Chiron and Uranus on his sun, is the likelihood of that is a lot greater than it not being there. Okay. Now remember, Chiron goes back to 6 degrees, and then it moves forward again at 7 degrees. So you're going to have another pass of Uranus over your Chiron. So it could happen theoretically with the first pass, but then again it could happen with the second pass. Now, what you want to think about, and this is kind of like a little bit of an exercise in manifestation. So let's say you want him to call you, right? Are we in agreement that you want him to call you?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So you want to have that intention, and you want to see that intention fully. And when I say fully, that means as much as you can. You can put together what it feels like when he calls you, what you feel like when you answer the phone, right? What your first few bits of dialogue will be, what this means to you. Does it mean that you would have an aspect of your life that would be able to experience a sense of completion? Would it be an aspect of your life that will allow you to regain a sense of yourself and your ability to manifest an event or a person in the world? You know,
wow.
Are you simply, now here's where you have to go with this too, are you simply engaged in some, and I'm just throwing this out there, this is not a judgment, in some selfish, self-fulfilling act where really there could be somebody else in your environment who is willing to give you a sense of love and a sense of connection, commitment that you're overlooking. I'm just throwing that out there, okay? And that you're holding out for somebody who may or may not come through. Now, you have to put all that together in one big globe. And then you have to resolve all of those things simultaneously. And if you say, yeah, there's somebody that's interested in me, but I'm not really interested in them because I really want something that I can't really attain right now, then you have to kind of reconcile that. So yeah, I know that, but I really want this to happen anyway. I want to finish this out. I want to complete this because I really can't be available for anybody else until I experience this.
Okay.
Right? Put all that together. You just put all of that together. Write it down. Write as many of these angles down as possible. And then what you do is you simply close that book and then say to yourself, it is done. It is done. I am manifesting this person to call me, and I'm letting go of any outcome based on this.
Wow. So expect to come, but don't expect anything out of that expectation.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And then you allow whatever that contact is to bring you whatever it is you need. And if it's to complete that relationship, if it's to get together, if it's to go deeper, so be it. If it's for that person to call you up and say, you know, and to help you realize that he was an asshole, then that's part of it too.
Right.
So move on. Say, okay, I've cleared that out. Because I think what you want is you want a sense of completion with this.
Exactly. It's more like an ellipsis. It's not something that's finished, I don't think. So, yeah, you've hit it on the head.
So that's kind of where I'd go with it, and I think that's probably the best roadmap for you to go about doing that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome, and thank you for calling in. Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay. All the way from New York. All right, let's go to 757. Hello, you're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Yvonne. I'm calling from Newport News, Virginia.
Hey, isn't that's where Michael Vick is from, right?
I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah, Allen Iverson is from that area too. He went to school there. Newport News. Yeah. Well, how are you today? Good. You're kind of cutting out on me. Can you talk a little louder? Are you there, Yvonne? Okay, she dropped. All right. Call back in. You got a faulty connection. Hello, you're on the air. Who are you, and where are you calling from?
Hey, would that be me?
That would be you.
Oh, hi. I am Diane from Southern Cal.
Hey,
California.
Diane.
Hi. I so enjoy you. It's easier to listen. But are you in the mood? Are you doing readings?
Yeah.
April 30th
Mm-hmm.
in 1953, 11:20 a.m. in Philadelphia.
Okay, let me just go into my program here. Hold on. So, all right. Let's do this. And we're going to do this. It takes me just a second here. Let's make this happen. It's all based on the wonders of technology. And we're going to edit this. Okay, here we go. The 30th of April. Okay, and was that 1967?
53.
Okay, and
11:20 a.m.
11:20 a.m. and that was in Philadelphia, right?
That'd be me.
Yeah. Okay. So do that. All right. Okie dokie. Here we go. The city of brotherly love.
True.
There's your chart. Okay, I'm seeing you. There you are. Taurus, right? Yep.
Yes. And Cancer rising?
That's very end of Cancer rising.
Yeah, like 29 degrees, right.
Definitely. The anaretic degree, and then moon in Scorpio, 27 degrees. Which trines your ascendant, by the way. It's nice trine. So, okay. Where do you want to go with this, Diane?
Whatever pops out that's easy for you.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that not good? Yeah?
Yeah, okay. So just let me see. Let's get some headlines here. So I think the big headline is you're just coming through your second Saturn return. You know, you've got Saturn at 22 Libra, and it's exactly conjunct in your chart with Neptune at 22 Libra, which is interesting. You know, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction whenever you get a planet that tight, or two planets that tight, the energy is very hard to differentiate between the two. So Saturn is exalted in Libra. We know that. And you can be a really compassionate person, but you're not just a person who is compassionate, who will stay on the sidelines. you can be very active in terms of how you want to activate that compassion or help people. And in fact, sometimes you've got this opposition with Venus and Neptune and Saturn. Sometimes you might be too proactive in wanting to help people and give them advice or help make their lives better. But it all comes from a place of love with you, with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. I think the challenge with that conjunction, especially opposite Venus, is to know when to hit the accelerator or back off the accelerator. I think the key for you with this alignment would be always ask somebody, do you want my input? Would you like my help? How can I help you? I see certain things that are going on in your life, and I'd like to be of service to you. Would you like some feedback? Things along those lines. And I think if you do that, or when you do that, and people open the door for you to bring that insight and to activate, that really catalytic energy, which is Venus in Aries, Mercury in Aries, which you've got really, intensely right next to your midheaven, by the way. You could be a tremendous catalytic force in people's lives. You can bridge this sense of compassion and duty and service, kind of a life path and a mission with the ability to make things happen quickly. But I think the key for you, it's all about permission. When you don't have permission, I think that's when things can get really crossed up. And then people could accuse you of being meddling or pushy or, getting into places that they haven't really decided that they want you to be. But once you get that cleared up, you can be a real tremendous force. Now, Uranus, now that you've gone through your second Saturn return, and the thing with the second Saturn return, especially as it relates to you specifically with that really tight conjunction, is you get really clear about what's important to you. You get clear about boundaries because it's in the fourth house, and the fourth house relates to home. Again, it's opposing Venus, it's opposing Mercury. There's a sense of kind of recollecting and reclaiming energy. One of the things that you may have gone through with that Saturn return could have been getting into your house and redecorating, redesigning, getting into a new infrastructure for your house or wherever you're living. Because a lot of times when I would see something like this, it would be related to not just the house or the living structure, but the self as well. The two would be really deeply interconnected. So anytime, in fact, moving forward, this is actually something that maybe you can work with. Anytime that you undergo any type of structural redesign or repair in the world around you, in your living space, it's going to be a metaphor for who you are. It's going to be a metaphor for how you apply wisdom and spirit and compassion in your life and in the lives of others. So you've just gone through your second Saturn return, and now Saturn it's past its the IC and it's moving up, and it's going to be in Scorpio and still in your fourth house. The shift in Scorpio in the fourth house is actually pretty prevalent and relevant. It allows you to kind of reconnect with your home and your psychic roots in a way that is, I think, deeply empowering. And the closer it gets to your moon and the closer it gets to your ascendant, which is about 2 years out, the more of a sense of really feeling like you're at home or feeling like you have found your place is going to be more marked than in other times in your past. Uranus is in your ninth house, and it's right now it's at 6 degrees off of your midheaven. And whenever Uranus moves through the ninth house, there's a real quickening in terms of awareness and expansion of consciousness. And as it gets closer to your midheaven, you're going to have a real sense of excitement. You're going to have a sense that there is some distinct possibility for change in your life, and not just kind of like in your day-to-day life, but you've got a real opportunity to recreate your career life as well. Venus and Mercury conjunct your midheaven generally says to me that you're somebody who's not going to just kick back and retire. You know, you're really curious. You're really interested in continuing to develop relationships and figure out ways in which those relationships can help you in whatever work that you're doing. And as Uranus gets closer to your midheaven and then begins to conjunct your Venus and your Mercury in 2013 and 2014, there's a real sense of rebirth in terms of what you do. I think it could be a very exciting time.
Oh,
Uranus square with your Uranus in the 12th house, because what that square is going to do, it's going to challenge you to be a little more unconventional, and it's going to challenge you to kind of get this energy out of your 12th house. And Uranus in the 12th house is spiritually unconventional. Like a lot of times, people that have Uranus in the 12th house have an inner life that a lot of other people don't see or understand. They can have really unconventional beliefs, unconventional spiritual practices, and part of the Uranus square is to be able to get that out of the 12th house, to get it out of the sort of the slumbering state and to bring it out into the world. And Uranus getting close to your midheaven is going to do that. It's going to challenge you to bring your unorthodox, unusual, and in some ways avant-garde kind of spiritual relationship with life, you know, out into greater focus in the world. So, you know, again, I see, you know, a pretty dynamic and interesting time for you on the horizon with that Uranus transit. The only other thing that I see here happening for you is you've got Jupiter at 27 degrees Taurus, Mars at 29 Taurus. So you've just had your Jupiter return, and you've just had Jupiter go over your natal Mars, and hopefully that would have expanded your social network and social contacts, and given you, like, you know, more people to play with, more people to hang out with. A lot of times that can coincide with a move. Sometimes it's a move to a community where maybe you've connected in with more like-minded people or people in your same age group or same socioeconomic group. But there's definitely more of a sense of kinship with the Jupiter-Mars return in the 11th house. Let's see. Oh, okay. One other thing. Taurus, 9 degrees. You've got a Pluto-Sun trine happening, and that's really, really powerful. Pluto is in your 6th house, which is the house of service and dharma and meaningful work. So when we see the Sun-Pluto trine, again, this brings up this whole notion of recreating yourself, finding new purpose, finding deeper purpose. And the Sun-Pluto trine is very vital. It's a resurgence in health. It's a resurgence in kind of your identity and being able to be in the world and be quite effective, to be honest with you. So I see a lot of very positive things happening for you in your chart.
Absolutely I'm astonished how wonderful that you shared so many good things, and it just was powerful, and it really resonated with me. I'm like tongue-tied. I really enjoy speaking, but it's just empowering how you enlightened me with that read. Robert, you're really right on it. You're just great. You're fabulous. Astrology is the most powerful compared to someone that is a psychic, and they're both wonderful, and you probably have both together, but your abilities are outstanding. Love your energy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And, I tell you, the one thing that I come back to is the only way that this works for me is if it works for you, And I think that that's the greatest gift that I get is to be able to share this in a way that is meaningful for other people. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, blessings. Love it. Can I continue to listen?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put you back on hold here. Okay.
And thank you for giving me so much of your time.
Sure.
It was so generous.
Sure, my pleasure.
You're so authentic. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, so back on hold. All right. All righty. So we are rocking and rolling here today, aren't we? Tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to take these next two calls, and then I'm probably going to take a break. And if you're on hold and you guys are listening and you want to jump off after the break, that's fine. I'm going to do two more calls, take a break, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to close. I'll probably want to close the show out. Okay, so let's see who's here and what they want to talk about. Let's go right here. 413. Hold on a second here.
Hello. Hi, Robert.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, my name's Christy, and I'm calling from Massachusetts.
Hi, Christy. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. All right. So, what do you want to talk about today, Christy?
I was hoping you could give me the lowdown on my birth chart like that. It was really cool to hear that woman.
Okay. When is your birthday?
It's 4/18/74. 9:19 a.m.
9:19 a.m. Okay.
And I put Holyoke, Massachusetts in.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. USA. There we go. All right. Okay, there you are. Let's go over the coordinates here. Sun in Aries, and I have you here as a Gemini rising. Is that right?
That's what I have, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Moon in Pisces at 11 degrees. So one of the things that really jumps out for me with your chart is the Mars-Saturn conjunction in Cancer, which is, let's see, Mars and Gemini, I'm sorry, Mars-Saturn conjunction in Gemini, in right there on your ascendant. Now, most of your first house is Cancer. So you've got this really interesting combination of Gemini Cancer going on. Now, so the majority of your first house is Cancer, right? And
yeah.
Yeah. So but you've got these two planets that are right on your ascendant.
Yeah.
So it gives you a really intense Gemini axis point with your chart. And one of the challenges with the Mars Gemini Saturn Gemini conjunction in the first house is restlessness. It is really, you know, Mars in Gemini is the most restless sign in the zodiac. Okay, and I've seen people who have Mars in Gemini, and they are some of the most creative and innovative people I've ever met. They've always got some interesting angle that other people aren't thinking about, and they love to toy with these angles. Like there was this guy named Don Nelson who was the coach of the Golden State Warriors. He used to play for the Celtics. He had Mars in Gemini, and while everybody was playing, 7-footers, he was playing guys that were 6'4", right? And the reason he did that was because he realized that all these big guys couldn't keep up with his little guys, and he could run big guys right out of the gym, and he would force the other team to play their little guys who weren't as good as his little guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's Mars and Gemini. Now, the thing with Nelly was that he became so fixated on this that he wasn't able to kind of change things up. And the other thing about him, too, is that he would be really restless, and he would also, he would work himself into this tizzy, and then he would take stretches where he would have time off. But from what I understand about people with Mars and Gemini, resting for them, it only works to a point, because then they get even more tired when they're not moving. So, your key with this Mars and Gemini, especially because Saturn is yoked to it, right? And the Saturn is a whole other thing, and running on Mars, because it's like driving with the accelerator and the brakes on at the same time. And
it's really frustrating.
Frustration would be probably a word you use a lot.
Yeah.
Because those two energies, well, Gemini wants to get up and go, especially in the first house. and especially with Mars there. But Saturn is like putting the brakes on. So you got to figure out, well, how do I work with this? And the ascendant is all about, moving through the world and how you get through the day, how you get through life, how you navigate with other people and situations. So those two planets there are critical for you to kind of understand it. Now, the other challenging piece here is that they square Pluto, okay? So if you make a misstep, it can be really challenging. Like, have you ever gotten into an accident?
Yes.
Okay. What was the extent of that accident?
It was a small, it was, the first one was a one car. I just happened to look down and I looked up and I was off the road. It was like just a really dumb thing. And then 15, 20 years later, I took a left when I shouldn't have.
Okay.
And, someone wasn't, I misjudged the speed, so I got cited for that.
Okay. Well,
wasn't moving fast.
Saturn on your Mars is quite helpful in that it would be almost like a regulator, It would be
bumper pad.
like a governor to slow you down a bit, because one of the things with Mars squaring Pluto is that if you take too many chances, it can be pretty challenging, especially when it comes to the heart, because your Pluto is in the 5th house, and the 5th house is the house of, it's romance, creativity, relationship, opening your heart. It's in the sign of Libra, and it squares Mars and it squares Saturn. So sometimes when that occurs, you can be overly cautious around not opening your heart and wanting to keep your heart intact and not having your heart broken. And at other times, you can just throw caution to the wind and just say, fuck it, I'm tired of this.
Definitely.
Well said. And then it's like, oh, now what did I get myself into, right?
Yeah, so, I should have listened.
So here's the good news. The good news is that Jupiter is cruising through your 12th house right now, okay? And now, when Jupiter goes through the 12th house, all right, so we have to ask ourselves, what is the 12th house? The 12th house is this really, deep place. It's like a cavern in an ocean, and you're just you're going through this thing, and these planets are going through there, and you don't necessarily have a real handle on it, but something is happening, right? You know something's going on. Now, theoretically, what Jupiter in the 12th house would do, it would open you up to new levels of expansion and understanding of heightened spiritual states, okay? So, what I would suggest you do with this Jupiter 12th house transit, especially like right now, because Jupiter is trining your natal Pluto, right? It's in Libra, so you've got the Jupiter-Pluto trine going on. It's nice. Okay. You like the Jupiter-Pluto trine. It's a way for Pluto to extract the information in the 5th house coming out of the 12th house. So I would do things like, meditation can be really boring for some people. And with Mars and Saturn and Gemini on your 1st house cusp, I wouldn't really recommend that for you. I don't know if you've got the patience for that. In fact, you've even got you've got Uranus sitting on your Mercury right now, and your mind is kind of on fire. So then you ask yourself, well, what could I do to get that spiritual essence out of my 12th house and into my 5th house and begin to kind of feel this? Well, you could it could be metaphoric. You could go diving. I mean, literally, you could put on a goggles and snorkel, or maybe take diving lessons. That could be a really interesting 12th house experience for you to do, because it's active. You may want to think about even something like maybe skydiving, to get yourself in touch with air, which is Gemini. But the idea here is to somehow place yourself in an environment, not necessarily a meditative environment, but in an environment where you can experience depth, where you can experience space, where you can experience a sense of freedom. And I think that that's important with the 12th house transit, because then Pluto takes the information, right? So now it's like we're like a relay system. It's like the old telephones where you plug those lines in. This line here, right? You're plugging Jupiter in the 12th house, and you're plugging that into Pluto in the 5th house, and they're having a dialogue. Now, Pluto in the 5th house gets really excited, and it gets creative, and it wants to do something creative with that energy, right? It's like, yeah, let's create. Yeah, let's write a short story, or yeah, let's make a video, or, you know, it's something along those lines. Because now what happens is, now that you plug that energy in, and it's hitting Pluto, what does Pluto do? It sends the energy up into your 11th house, which is where your Mercury in Aries is. And you get ideas. You know, you get ideas. You say, oh, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And one of the things that I would kind of stress for you is collaboration. You need to work with people. You've got Mercury, Chiron, and Sun all in the 11th house. Now, it can be challenging at times because you've got some oppositions going on. But as long as you are the person that is the director or the producer or the leader and can own that, you'll be fine. But I think collaborating and working with people will be really good for you, especially in a creative sense. So Jupiter now is coming through your 12th house. You've gone diving, you've swam with dolphins, whatever that thing is, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes and it hits your ascendant. This is in 2013. And then what happens is, I believe, with the Jupiter return on your Mars and on your Saturn, which is, I think, is really powerful, because Jupiter's not going to be doing this for a while again. You get a real insight into your own operating system and how you move through the world. It's like that mystery and that expansion and that freedom and that spiritual point of contact with the 12th house begins to allow you to understand how to move through the world at a much faster clip with control. There's a really interesting video that I saw yesterday, and you may want to look this up. It's this guy, his name is Ken Block, B-L-O-C-K, and he did this video recently where he was driving this car, this Ford Escort with 650 horsepower, and he drove it through San Francisco without any traffic, and it's insane. It's totally insane, and what it demonstrates is what somebody could do when there's no traffic on the road, with a really high-powered and nimble car with a lot of expertise. Because he's got to do stuff like use brakes, he's got to understeer, he's got to do power drifts. And that's kind of like Mars and Saturn together in the first house. Once you understand, you can really move ahead very quickly, and you can do things that other people will go, wow, how did she do that? You know, she's like doing 3 things at once, and she's not missing a beat. So find that video. I think it would be very, very inspirational for you. So one last thing here. It's about your midheaven, and you've got some real powerful action going on with your midheaven. Neptune's on your midheaven, and it's at 2 degrees, and it's getting ready. Next year, it gets really close to Jupiter, so you're going to have a Neptune transit through your 10th house for like the next 12 years. And
oh my gosh.
One of the things that I think would be a good takeaway for you, because part of what you're supposed to be doing in this world with all those planets in Pisces, and especially the conjunction between Jupiter and the Moon, is you're kind of here to help people, and you're here to have some kind of compassionate, spiritual, and very creative expression of who you are in this world. And Neptune is getting really close. It's right on your midheaven, and it's going to be moving. It's going to conjunct your Jupiter. That's a really profound transit, and it's going to be there for a while. And based on the trines between Mars and Saturn with Neptune, I think you're going to have what I'd call a spiritual rebirth. In terms of what you want to do in this world, and why you're here. The big why you're here moment is coming. Okay. And,
yeah, I feel it.
Yeah, and I think you can be a really great service in a way that's incredibly loving, incredibly profound, and very fun. You got to have fun with this. You got to have fun with this life of yours. So
that's good.
Keep it light, keep it fun, and open your heart. Neptune's gonna nudge you. I get a picture of kids, like kids smiling with this Neptune conjunction with your midheaven. And I don't know what that means to you, but I think it could be, Gemini works with kids. It has a lot of affinity towards kids. So anyway, there you
Wow.
go. Stay open and go explore your 12th house in a fun way.
Thank you, Robert. That was amazing. I agree with that woman. I'm blown away. I hope to reconnect in the future just to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Take care. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye. All right. All right, let's go to one more here. Let's go to, let's see, 757. I think, man, where is 757? 604, 757. Let's go here. Sometimes I lose track of the calls. Just in the moment. I forget who's been waiting. Let's go here. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, Robert.
Hi.
Oh, hi, I'm on the air. Good. I want her chart, that last woman.
Who knows? Yours is better. You never know, whatever that is. And so, what's your name?
I'm Diane from Vancouver, Canada.
Hey,
again. I'm hooked. Would you, I don't know if you do this or not, but would you do my son's chart, or is that not something you do?
No, we could do that, sure, not a problem.
Oh, excellent. Okay. He's born July 5th, he just had his birthday, 1993.
Okay.
In Vancouver.
Hold on. We're almost there. Okay, what time?
4 o'clock. p.m.
p.m.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Vancouver. I love Vancouver, by the way.
Well, I do too now that the sun is shining. Man, we're all getting moldy up here.
I've had some good times up there.
Yeah, it's nice when it's sunny, and I actually don't mind the rain. I mean, I came from Winnipeg where it's like, probably where you are.
Well, I've got your son's chart here, and he's got a very complex chart.
Does he?
Yes, he does. He's got, first of all, he has a splay chart. So out of 12 houses, he's got planets or aspects in 9 of them.
Wow.
Which means there's a lot of capability, a lot of various interests, the ability to tap into a lot of different areas. And as people who have splay charts have incarnated to experience a lot in one lifetime. They want a little piece of the pie, every step of the way. So they can be Renaissance people. They can maybe have too many irons in one fire at sometimes. Sometimes they can be a little undecided. I think the best strategy with a splay chart is for a person to spend time in kind of each aspect of their chart based on whatever major aspect that's going down. Like, so for instance, your son, the next major aspect for him is Saturn, which is in his 12th house right now, getting ready to come out and be in his first house in October when it moves into Scorpio. Actually, it'll be in his first house November, December. So he's going to have Saturn merging into out of the 12th house, out of a period. A lot of times when people have Saturn in the 12th house transiting, it's a period of isolation. Mm-hmm. And it can be forced isolation. It could be just kind of individual isolation, like maybe they take themselves out of circulation. A lot of times when it's the house is split between Libra and Scorpio, sometimes it can be a failed relationship or a relationship that's ended that sends the person into more of an inner journey or a quest to kind of understand the roots of where that relationship failed. Scorpio is really about, especially in the 12th house, understanding the deeper levels of motivation. Why people do the things that they do. Mm-hmm. Things like compulsions, complexes, addictions. Mm-hmm. All those things can come out when Saturn moves through the 12th house. Mm-hmm. And it's already been there for him for about a year and a half now. And then really it's getting ready to make its exit in October. Now, when it does, as it gets closer to the ascendant, there's more of a sense of pressure. There's more of a sense of feeling like change is imminent and having to leave things behind, whether they're attitudes or people, whatever those things are. And then when Saturn moves and hits the ascendant, there's a sense of surfacing and coming up for air. It was like, I can breathe now. And there's also a sense of now it's time to get down to business. Now it's time to get down to work. And since the first house is all about identity and how, we interface with the world, it's going to be about understanding his impact on the world around him. Scorpio is very intense. People who have Scorpio on the ascendant they're not really gray area people. They're pretty black and white. And Scorpio, Saturn there is going to help him understand how he impacts his environment, how his black and white decisions can impact his environment, both for positive and negative, like making a choice that says, I'm going to stop doing this, and really cutting that off and seeing where that serves him, right? And then it would be, I'm going to stop, I'm going to cut this person out of my life, and maybe that could be theoretically drastic for him, and understanding how that impacts him as well. Now, Saturn gets closer and closer to Pluto. This is where it gets very intense for him. He's got Sun at 13 degrees Cancer and Mercury at 27 degrees Cancer, which trine Pluto. And his Sun is right at the edge of the 8th house and near the 9th house. So it's almost a 9th house Sun. He would be a natural investigator and really wanting to kind of look into things and figure out how things work and why they work or why they don't work. And he has pretty credible powers of concentration. Mercury in Cancer is very retentive in terms of memory. A lot of times it's a phonographic or a photographic memory, especially with Pluto there, trining. Is he in school at all, or what is he doing?
He just graduated grade 12, and then he's going to start going to college in September.
Oh, terrific! This is a great transit for him because it's going to be trining his Sun, which means he's going to have a lot of self-worth and self-esteem manifest for him. This is great for him, really great for him. And the closer we get, and then we're talking, maybe about a year and a half out when 22 degrees, but the closer it gets to Pluto, and now his Mercury is in the 9th house. He's really bright, really bright. And the closer it gets to Pluto and the closer it gets to the Mercury trine, the more he'll understand that he can roll with the big boys, right? He's going to get it. He's going to figure out how smart he is. He's going to have to work, okay? Because Saturn in the first house is all about bearing down and working, especially in Scorpio. But he's going to have some serious aha moments. It's kind of like somebody who plays a sport and they get up against really good competition and they figure out that they can play with that competition. That's when things get interesting. That's when they say, all right, let's see what we can do here. He's going to have those moments as Saturn gets closer and closer to his Pluto and begins to trine his Mercury. I think it's a very exciting time for him. And his self-confidence is really going to grow and expand. He's got Chiron right on his midheaven, and it's in Leo. And it's an interesting aspect to have there because the midheaven is like the point of the world. It's like where we access the world. And Chiron on the midheaven generally indicates somebody who can have some challenges as it relates to bringing the totality of who they are into the world for the world to see, like their work or their creativity, whatever that thing is. And because it's in Leo, right, one of the things that he's going to be challenged on is his ability to lead. Chiron in Leo is all about wrestling with leadership, wrestling with being the person that carries the ball. Sometimes people that have Chiron and Leo are more than willing to let other people do it. But ultimately, they're never satisfied. You know, Chiron in Leo is all about him, especially on the midheaven, coming to terms with being a leader in the world. He's got his Chiron return way out there. So it's something that he'll deal with way down the line. But this is going to be a big theme for him. And the ninth house is college. The ninth house is university. So he is going to interact with Chiron while he's there, just by its natural setting in that house. So something about him being in college is going to trigger this aspect around being a leader or not being a leader, and in some ways, taking control of his life. Also, Chiron in Leo has to do with parents as well, especially the father, and dealing with the shadow of the father, and maybe doing something that's contrary to the father, because the opposite of Chiron or Leo is Aquarius. So part of what he may encounter while he's in school would be studying something or getting into something which his father may or may not approve of. You know, maybe his father wants him to be a biologist. He wants to study electronic music, you know. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. So he's going to have to find out how to be his own man, his own adult, and his own leader within the university setting, because it sets the tone, really, for everything he does for the rest of his life, because of where Chiron is stationed right on his midheaven. Wow. And right now, Pluto is trining his natal Mars in the 10th house, which is terrific. You know, it allows him to work. It allows him to work hard. He's probably the type of kid that could hold down 2 jobs while he goes to school and wouldn't bat an eye, you know. So Pluto's going to be trining his Chiron off and on for the rest of the year. It moves ahead in 2013. Tell him to save up his summer work money. That would be the wise thing to do.
Okay.
And let's see, anything else? Jupiter's trining his moon, or will be trining his moon, and Jupiter is currently just at the edge of his 7th house. So when it goes into a more direct trine with the moon, it's an opening of emotions. It's new emotions, more complex emotions. Wonderful, actually. And actually finding somebody who allows him to be kind of who he is emotionally. He's kind of quirky. You know, Moon in Aquarius is kind of quirky. They go their own way. They've got their own very unique sets of likes and dislikes. And what motivates them emotionally isn't everybody's cup of tea. You know, so for them to find someone who accepts them, who accepts their strange humor, who accepts their strange little quirks and idiosyncrasies, and kind of progressive nature around their emotions is not always easy. However, with the Jupiter trine coming up, it's a lot easier than it's been before. So he has the opportunity to meet somebody who he can really vibe with and accepts him on an emotional level.
Oh man, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, this kid doesn't like popcorn. Can you imagine? I mean, you're right. It's the quirky things, right? Like, who doesn't like popcorn?
Who doesn't like popcorn?
My kid.
Well, I think he's going to have a great time in college, a super time. And he's got a grand air trine in his chart. He's got Jupiter trine Moon, very popular. Your son is going to be very popular.
Yeah, you know, he's a real sweet kid, and it's not because he's my kid at all. He's just a really lovely kid.
Yeah, I would agree with that. His biggest work is going to be in relationships.
Yeah.
He's got Venus square Saturn and Venus square Mars. One of the things that people with Venus square Saturn and Mars have is impatience in relationships. And that can be cutting relationships off before they have a chance to blossom, or being cut off before it has a chance to blossom by someone else. So that's going to be a little tricky for him. But this Jupiter Moon trine is a really nice opening.
Oh, sweet. Wow. Robert, you're amazing, honest to God, and God bless you in what you do. You really are. And you know what? I can tell you're a really nice guy. You can tell by how people present themselves. Like, I'm just really glad that I know who you are.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And so I tell you, it takes work. It takes work to get to a place where you're kind of okay with that. So thank you.
Wow. No, God bless you, Robert. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Take care, Diane.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's really interesting. People come on here and they they're very appreciative about what I do, and I appreciate that too. And I got to tell you, it's challenging, man. It's challenging sometimes because I'm fucking imperfect. I got big time warts. I got things in my personal life that don't always work out for me. I've got my own stuff. But for whatever reason, I can hold it down here, and I can be completely present and available. And it's really interesting for me to see where these things converge and don't converge. And all I can say is, I give a lot of thanks for being able to have this opportunity and space to be able to do that, because it gives me encouragement and positivity for my own life. So thank you for reflecting that back to me. All right, let's go to the 520 line. Yeah, hey, how's it going? You're on the air with Robert.
Hi, are you talking to me?
I am.
Hi, you've done my stuff before, and I'm calling because there's a lot of stuff going on around me right now. And, I didn't know if you could, I don't have my dad's time of birth because, he doesn't even have a birth certificate. But I know, where and when he was born. And I was wondering if you could see anything there. And I mean, I've had a suicide, and there's a lot of stuff going on.
What's your name?
My living father.
Okay. What's your name?
My name's Julie.
Okay, Julie. All right, Julie. Give me your birth date.
I'm 6/16/68.
6/16/68. This is Julie in Arizona?
This is it. This is her.
All right, Julie. Let's see what we got here. 6/16/68.
And we sold. We sold.
You did?
We did. We had to.
That worked out.
And well, we got out with more than we thought we were going to get out with, and now the way things are going, we're grateful now. And now he's going to go back and he's right now in school getting his CDL again, because he drove trucks for like 20 years before I knew him. I was in diapers when he was driving trucks apparently, and it's something that he's willing to do. So.
Well, okay. I thought selling was a good thing, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. For the last 3 years between us and your audience, we've been struggling through the winters to even make it. And, like I tell everybody, put on a sweater, and socks and mittens. And, and then the corporate offices weren't making it easier on us either. They were making it harder to do business.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, we're done. It's over. So.
Good. All right. When's your birthday? Julie, I think I might even have you in here already. But when's your birthday? Your birth time?
Oh shoot. My birth time?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. You'd think I'd be prepared. I think let me go to my. I don't know offhand.
Okay.
I'm going into my AOL.
Okay. Let me just see. I might have you in here. Hold on, because you've been on the show before. Well, more than the show. Let's see. Hold on. I think I saw you the other day. Let me just see. Hold on. Julie. All right, let's see. No. No, I don't see it. All right, let's just do this. Let me just go into. Let me go into the.
I'm going to pull out my files. I'm going to pull it out right now. I'm diving for it.
Sure.
Let me give you my dad, though, because my dad, I don't have his birthday time anyway.
All right, give me your father.
Okay, he's April 22nd, 1937, and he was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Okay, my birth time is 2:07 p.m.
Okay, let's look at your dad. Because here's what we do. Because you signed up for a session. So here's what we're going to do. Let me do your dad right now, and then I'll work with you offline. Okay?
Okay.
So
yeah, whenever. It's just like I said. It seems like my life's starting to even out, and everything around me's falling apart.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm just trying to look at your dad's aspects here. Well, one of the things that April 22nd. Yeah. So your father has he's got it looks to me like he's got his moon in Libra squaring Pluto in Capricorn and opposing Uranus.
That doesn't sound good.
Well, for older folks, right? 1937. For older folks, change can be really hard, really, really hard. And anytime you get into a heavy T-square, it can be doubly hard, especially for somebody who is set in their ways. And Uranus-Moon opposition can be really unsettling, very unsettling. It can be problems with nerves, the nervous system. You could experience things. The individual can experience things like palsy, early onset of things like MS.
What about Alzheimer's and senility?
That could be very possible too. Because Uranus, these are cardinal signs, and the emotions are kind of like the gyroscope of the body. And when you have Uranus opposing the moon like that, it is definitely a stretch, and it is a stretch on the nervous system and balance and equilibrium. And Pluto in Capricorn is aging, and when it squares the moon like that, it's putting pressure on the emotional body. One of the things that happens with people if they have early onset Alzheimer's or MS is they begin to act out, and they act out in weird ways. It's like they're losing control, and they will go into fits of rage, or they'll make these arbitrary decisions just to make a decision to stay in control, and they become really erratic and hard to predict. So this is potentially this could be happening with him with the T-square. Clearly with the opposition with Uranus Moon, there is definitely a sense of erratic behavior with the emotions, and at times even disturbing behavior. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to find balance, with this T-square that's going on right now. And that, I don't know. The other thing, too, is he's got Mars in Sagittarius, and Uranus is moving backwards and getting ready to trine his Mars in Sagittarius. And generally speaking, when you get into a trine like that, that's somebody who doesn't care what they think or say. And they'll just start telling you everything.
Well, that's a good thing, though. That can be a good thing because, there's I don't want to say it on air, but there are people that are trying to get control of him, and they're using his memory and his nerves to rattle him, to keep him unstable, I think, so that they can get a hold of his money.
Could very well be. The thing with the Uranus, Mars, Sagittarius is his Mars is retrograde, by the way. It would encourage him to speak up and speak out and say whatever is on his plate.
Right.
Yeah. Look, I think, quite frankly, I think he can be helped. Pluto is trining Uranus. He's got Uranus in Taurus, and Pluto is trining his Uranus. I think he could be helped. I think if you wanted to, you could work with a naturopath and figure out ways to, try to chelate and get some of the heavy metals out of his system. Heavy metals we accumulate them over time, and they really impair our ability to think and remember. People have linked fluoride and aluminum to Alzheimer's. So, you can get him on a chelation program. And when you and I speak offline, I'll tell you about some other stuff that might be quite helpful for him. So, again, Uranus, Taurus.
Does it show that he's still has control, though? You don't see. I mean, I can. There's the. Is it? He's just looking for peace. Is that all he's looking for? Is peace right now? Because,
Well, yeah, because Uranus is opposing his moon, and that's a startling opposition. And the other thing with Uranus and Aries, it's will, right? It's will. Aries is will. And what are we talking about? What did you just mention? You just mentioned this concept of will, right?
Well, yeah. See, and my sister is an Aries, and it's her husband. It's like the opposition is me and my sister's husband.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. So you've gone through this now. You dealt with your husband's brother, right?
Yeah, they're out of business now, and now I'm at peace, and I have no. But I told you before, I don't really have a problem with Carlos. With the guy, he's fine. But I just have a problem with his business sense. They don't belong in business together. So that's good. We're okay. It's just everything around me. These. My sibling and her husband and my cousin killed himself, and you know what I mean? It's just nonstop.
Right. Well, you've dealt with the brother factor on your husband's side in the business world. Now you get to deal with your sister, so you're cleaning up your familial relationships here. And
I am.
Yeah, you are. That's a good thing. Let's you and I talk offline, okay?
Oh, I can't wait. Just tell me when. It's at your convenience. Don't feel pressured. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm okay all week.
No, I just got your notice yesterday or this morning, rather. So I'll circle back after the show, okay?
Yeah, sounds good. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, it's our friend Julie down in Arizona. Okay. We've reached the end of the show, and I want to thank everybody for calling in and helping me. This is a really healing thing for me. I got to tell you, I've got Chiron and Aquarius in my third house, and this is great for me as well. And I want to thank everybody for being a part of it and allowing me to go through my own healing process, with this as well. So anyway, you know the drill. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to step into what's possible. I'll be back on Friday with 3 amazing women talking about spirituality, creativity, art, and transformation. I'll see you then.
In the name I am that I am, Sanat Kumara, I call forth the light of the living word, beloved Elohim, beloved archangels, beloved mighty Choans of the rays and the lords of karma. I call for the action of beloved Pallas Athena, beloved goddess of liberty, beloved Nada, beloved Kuan Yin, beloved Portia, beloved Grace Divine Director, beloved all-seeing Eye of God, Psychotia. Let God's will be done, let God's will be done, let God's will be done. I demand the action of the sacred fire in this hour. Descend almighty cosmos, secret rays. I am the holding of the balance of Lord Gautama Buddha, beloved Sanat Kumara and the 7 holy Kumaras. I call upon the sacred fire, I call upon the light of God that never fails. Beloved mighty, I am present, come forth in this hour of the victory. Come forth in this hour of the victory of the God's flame. I demand the full power, beloved mighty, exceed me with us this night. Beloved Jesus, send it to me, Lord, my Savior, Gautama and Son of tomorrow. Come, Lord, now in the victory and the